You open this door with the key of reason. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of truth. A dimension of freedom. A dimension of joy. You're moving into the land of both the ideal and the real, of the possible and the actual. You've just crossed over into the Capitalist Corner.
Where reason meets reality, welcome to the Capitalist Corner.
Happy Monday, folks. Yes, we are the Capitalist Corner. I'm your host, Mark Pellegrino, and also the chairman of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and vice chair, Mr. Michael Liebowitz, who is also helming this amazing channel, The Rational Alternative. Mike, tell me what's going on, man. I know you know what's going on. I'm new to this. Go ahead.
What is with this voice? What happened?
What do you mean?
You've got the sort of raspy, junky voice thing going on.
I don't know.
Have you ever heard of that? Are you familiar with the raspy, junky voice?
I am. But, it could be that I've had no sleep over the weekend. It could be that I was talking all weekend with people at the Anaheim convention, the fan expo there. I don't know.
All right. I mean, it's cool. I mean, it adds a little flavor. It's like, you know what I mean? Flavor to a Miller.
Sounds like I have now that I'm thinking about it, though, and listening to my voice, it sounds like I have a cold, but I don't have a cold.
Well, maybe you should take some Zicam just in case. Okay, never mind the Zicam, folks. Yeah. So we did this weekend. I hope the members enjoyed the membership show. We've got great membership stuff coming up every Sunday, 11 a.m. We've got this will be on 12 to 1 every weekday. Saturday, 12 to 1. We've got Capitalist Corner Weekend. And I will be transitioning the Rational Egoist over to here. So it will be the Rational Alternative. We're going to wind down that channel, incorporate the content here. So a lot of good stuff going on, man. I got an interview coming up Friday with Nikos. So
nice.
All around, I'm happy.
I love that. We love Nikos. I wish Nikos could come and speak at our national convention, but alas, he's a Greek and not an American. So he really can't have any impact on the direction of the party, unfortunately. What?
But he could still speak.
He could, but everybody in the board was a little bit, yes, we'd love him, but. So it was
the bureaucrats, you mean?
Yes, the bureaucrats on the board of the American Capitalist Party. Folks, I want to remind everybody that we have a national convention coming up September 19th and 20th. I will be talking to Larry Sharpe today, by the way, at 11:30 PST, because I want to get him to come speak. Larry Sharpe is an awesome radio host. He's running for governor over there on the East Coast in New York, right? For New York?
For New York, yeah.
Yeah.
We're trying to get him over here at the Capitalist Party convention. That's going to be fire. I can't wait for that. But Megan rightly tells me to hype the education episode. So Megan has been co-hosting with me on the weekend, and we've been doing education episodes. And it's been going so well that I have an announcement to make, Mark, and you don't even know about this yet. I haven't even told you. Megan has agreed to be my permanent co-host for the Capitalist Corner weekend show.
All right. The dynamic duo.
Oh, no. You and I are the dynamic duo. Don't try to take that away from me.
Okay, well, I didn't know.
You didn't know?
No, I didn't know that you called us the dynamic duo in your own head.
I don't, but we're still the dynamic duo.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take it, man.
Oh yeah, you didn't tell that. Look, what's those things? Super chats, super stickers, big fans.
Yeah, we love those, folks. Keep them coming, please. It keeps the channel going. Also, Megan, since she's co-hosting with you and becoming the second dynamic duo with you, maybe she could come to the American Capitalist Party National Convention, which will be in Pittsburgh, folks, September 19th and the 20th. Please come. Look, the Democratic Party is in the midst of shifting into socialism. The Republican Party is shifting into national Christian, some hybrid of national Christianity. You need somebody out there who will be the standard bearer for truth and for principles of individual rights and inviolable property, because no party out there at the moment does stand for those things, folks. Not even the Libertarians who claim to stand for those things. They certainly don't, but we do. So please, we're going to be voting on policies that we're going to try to take to legislatures across the country so that we could start moving things in the direction of liberty, right?
You know what? Speaking of moving toward liberty, I've been thinking about something a little bit recently, Mark. You tell me your thoughts. Maybe this should be behind the scenes, but what the hell do I care? So, when I first came out of the big house, my plan was to try to unite the various elements of the freedom movement, objectivist, libertarians, etc. And I was quickly disillusioned by all the rancor and disagreements, amongst them. But I'm starting to come back around a little bit in thinking that not that we can't point out flaws in with the various elements, but if people support, for instance, cutting taxes, deregulation, ending the war on drugs, the Constitution, I don't see why there can't be coalition building there. What do you think about that? I mean, like, there's not many people out there that support liberty. A lot of libertarians, by no means all, but a lot of them have the same intellectual sort of ancestry that we have, right? It's a matter of emphasis often. But what do you think? I mean, is there any common ground? Like Larry Sharp is great. He's a libertarian.
And in a sense, we're sort of forming a coalition with him because we support his candidacy in New York.
Right.
He's obviously the best candidate, and it's not even a question, Michael, with him in the field of choosing between a lesser of two evils. He's simply good. He's good. And yeah, I have no problem with forming coalitions with people who essentially agree with us, because it's that essence that matters. And if they truly are constitutionalists, as we are, if they truly do stick to the concept of enumerated powers as we do, then they have to understand that if they agitate for something like a welfare state, then it's against the Constitution and their
Right.
primary beliefs. So they're going to be on our side.
Yeah. Now, most libertarians, where they would differ with us, and I'm not talking about the extreme anarchists. I'm talking about your libertarians, your Mises, not Mises Caucus or Mises Institute, but people have been influenced by Mises or Hayek, Ludwig von Mises, etc. Their main differences with us, I suspect, would be on foreign policy.
Sure.
So you just stay away from foreign policy, and we work with them on domestic issues. And Greg Doherty makes a good point. The more narrow the topic, the more opportunity for broadening the cooperation.
Yeah, well, I'm for that. I definitely think there's people, Michael, with all these shifts in the political establishment, there's disaffected Republicans now. Think about those
Right.
constitutional conservatives who haven't really shifted their premises with the Trump takeover of the Republican Party. And think about those abundance Democrats who understand that we need capitalism. Capitalism is a very good thing. Let's free up the market a little bit because that provides people with the resources that we're actually looking for. Those people are now disaffected by the shift to the far left end of the spectrum with this democratic socialist dominance over there now. So, and there's the libertarians who believe like we do, for the most part, who think that human beings should be free to live their lives with as little government interference as possible. They're probably disaffected by the anarchists in their movement, who would like to eliminate the state altogether, who don't understand the value of the state at all, and they would gravitate towards us. I think we are positioned uniquely in history, Michael, to make a real impact, and to not become a third party, but to become the alternative. The alternative to statism.
Sounds good to me.
Hey, man, with that, maybe we should talk about stuff, like stuff. It's first thing up there is American Pride. You want to talk about that? What's going on with America and its sensibility about its own origins, and
Sure.
it's a
Well,
little disturbing, man.
It's an interesting thing because I'm a little torn. There was a Gallup poll and there was a poll from another organization, and I think that you probably have the information there. Hoping you can pull that
I'll call it up.
You call it up. But I don't know that we ought to be taking pride in things over which we have no control. I don't think we should. Now, so proud to be an American, what does that really mean? Am I proud that I was born here? Am I proud of the accomplishments of other people? What I am proud of, though, and this maybe qualifies as pride in being American, I'm proud to support the ideals upon which the country was founded. I'm proud to support limited government, constitutional government, free markets, individual rights. I am proud of those things, but I'm not somebody that's just going to put an American flag in my yard and say my country right or wrong. You know what I mean? But nevertheless, there's a significant decline in the people in this country that are taking pride in being American. And I tend to think, and this is just a hypothesis, I don't know for certain, it's pure speculation on my part, that the pro-America patriotic brand has been taken over by people that I sure as hell don't want to be associated with, right? And I'd imagine that's true for a lot of people. The Trump MAGA people have sort of kidnapped the idea of patriotism. And it's patriotism in a very weird way that's not based on our founding documents, not based on freedom. It's just, we're American. And I mean, they put out some of the slogans sometime, but no, I don't know. Well, what do you think, Mark?
Yeah, when I hear that too, I have a reaction to the concept of pride. And this may be unique to people who are objectivist, Michael, and objectivist adjacent, because I don't feel pride in something that isn't an accomplishment of my own. For example, I could feel proud that I'm trying to reinvigorate the principles of individual rights by helming a party, by trying to influence the political process in the directions that I think it should go. I can feel pride in that. I can feel pride about the things that I write with respect to advancing those ideals. But if somebody were to ask me if I was proud to be an American, I'd say, I'm not proud to be an American. I'm grateful. I'm grateful because it just so happened that I was lucky to be born in the greatest country on the face of the earth. Now, I'm not saying that jingoistically, like people on the right will say today, with the blood and soil patriots who think, this is just an extension of the Anglosphere, and it's their patriotism is tinged with race pride, soil pride. No, I'm just grateful to be born in a place that really advanced exceptional moral ideas with respect to the way a state should be composed and its relationship with its citizens. I am very grateful for that, because within that, as far as we've fallen from those principles, Michael, exists the apparatus to change it back, exists the apparatus to self-correct, which does not exist in most other states, folks. That's why America has a conscience about its past that no other state does. You don't see the Turks apologizing or making it a matter of policy for the Armenian genocide. You don't see that happening. But you see America attempting to make up for the scourge of slavery through civil rights movements, through constitutional amendments, civil rights movements, and an attempt to bring to expiate that sin, to get rid of it, and to make up for it. Now, of course, there's a lot of misguided elements that go along with that, rather rational and fantastic part of us that enables us to self-correct. There's a lot of irrationality that goes with it. But Michael, there was a lot of irrationality that went along with the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment gave us reason. It also gave us anti-rational philosophers as well. And that's always going to be part and parcel of any movement. But I'm grateful to be an American, and I'm distressed to see that most people, or so many people, are not. I think that's what it amounts to, Michael. They don't understand exactly what it is they have been fortunate enough to be born into.
I like the formulation of being fortunate, and like, I'm proud to support or to lend my approval to people like William Lloyd Garrison, for instance, or even John Brown. I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing what he did, but I still like that. I like what the founders of this country did. So yeah, I think that's a better way to put it. But I don't think that when people are saying they no longer take pride in the country, that they're using pride in the specific sense that we are. I think they are becoming embarrassed
Yeah.
to be a part of it. Now, here's the thing: it's very sort of difficult to sift through the political mess, right? Because you have the Zoran Mamdani, and his crew, and AOC, and the socialists. So if they're embarrassed to Trump, I mean, I'm embarrassed to them. You know what I mean? So I don't. I would like to really talk to reasonable people. But all the energy in both parties is either with the MAGA wing in the Republicans or the socialist wing in the Democrats. Luckily, like you said, we do have our true north, right? We have our founding principles to return to. And I find the founding of the country, just the ideas are so inspiring to me. The idea of having rights, of being free, of being able to achieve my goals, of being able to speak my mind, make my arguments. That's inspiring, right, to me. Now, so Greg Doherty, and I've seen a lot of this. This is common in right-wing circles. A rep from Texas proposed repeal of the 17th Amendment. I don't understand what that is supposed to accomplish. I mean, okay, it takes direct election away from the U.S. Senate, but the people that are going to appoint the senators are still going to be elected by the same people that would be electing the senator. So I don't really know what they're trying to accomplish there, but thanks for pointing that out, Greg.
I mean, there's definitely arguments to be made for the fact that the establishment of a more direct democracy has, in fact, been part and parcel one of the reasons for our political decline, but that's a whole separate discussion. It's certainly something the founders were trying to mitigate. They understood that just as scary as a cabal of individuals or a single dictator was a mob of people that could be manipulated by a demagogue. Because what we are in now, Michael, is not a representative republic so much as a spoils system democracy. And what we see are demagogues and populists at the head of their parties screaming out bromides to their constituents in the hopes that they'll get elected, take control of the levers of power, and then benefit their constituents at the expense of everybody else. And and a representative republic is supposed to respect and protect the rights of the minority, the individual. You and I, Michael, being the smallest minority of all. So yes, we could discuss whether or not the repeal of such an amendment would be good or bad.
Yeah.
I certainly like the idea of a popularly elected group who is beholden to a potential mob being checked by a group more circumspect and experienced that has a longer range vision for the country. It's certainly debatable that we might have been a little better off when that was the case than we are now. Immigrants, if anyone, have pride rights.
That's what Jim said, and I think that's
mean?
interesting. He's saying that immigrants, more than anybody, can take pride because they've chosen to be here.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. That's a great
I do too.
formulation.
But then Jim corrected himself here, and he says this: veterans above all. I stand corrected.
Well, in the sense, perhaps in the sense that they are fighting and defending, the essential principles of this country. I mean, they've chosen to go into the military. It's not a draft.
Well, hold on now.
Okay.
Hold on now. Because I mean, okay. What veterans that are veterans of the Gulf War, the Iraq War, the war in Afghanistan, sure, they're volunteers. But before that, they weren't. Vietnam, they were drafted. World War I, World War II, drafted. Civil War, drafted. God, that's a tough one. Because I admire the vets, and I mean, I appreciate the fact that they've defended the country. Don't get me wrong. but I don't know if I would put them above. I don't know. I think both immigrants and vets, volunteers, can take pride. I do. I'm gonna have to struggle with that one because I'm ultimately unsure. Jim, I'll have to talk to you about that later on. Mark, what you thinks about that?
Well, now that you've brought that up, that's very interesting. Yeah, I would have to think about this a little bit, to be honest with you, because I was just taking it on its face, which is currently the military is an all voluntary force, and people join the military for a variety of reasons that don't necessarily have to do with defending the principles of the United States or the borders of the United States against criminal states. They join for a number of reasons, but they are choosing to defend the United States of America. And just like an immigrant who becomes a naturalized citizen is choosing the principles of the United States and to become an American citizen, as opposed and to renounce, in essence, their own origins for this rebirth, so to speak. Maybe both are deserving of some semblance of pride because of the free choice involved. I don't know. It's an interesting formulation.
I want to challenge Jim a little. He says draftees did not go AWOL and they don't choose the wars. The courage of vets wins. What about the courage of immigrants who have to escape from places like the Soviet Union or North Korea or East Berlin, who are the immigrants coming from Cuba who risk death in the water? And what about people that dodge the draft, not out of cowardice, but out of courage and principle? I'm thinking of Muhammad Ali, for instance.
One of the greatest examples of, in my view, Michael, an American, because he dodged the draft, and what happened? He lost the heavyweight championship of the world and 3 years of his prime in the ring. To that, he had no income. I mean, he was brought back into the ring by Joe Frazier because everybody wanted to see a fight between he and Joe Frazier. But in essence, this American icon stood for the basic American principle that your life is your own. That took balls, Michael. And when you think about the people that went across the border to Canada during the Vietnam War, they were giving up everything. They had no concept that there was going to be an amnesty later on. They didn't know that was going to happen. They thought they were leaving their family, their loved ones, everyone behind for the sake of this principle.
So Jeanette says about Muhammad Ali, draft dodger.
Exactly. Thank you. And that made him very courageous and one of the greatest men in the history of America, just for simply for that. The draft is un-American. It is un-American. An all-volunteer force is the only force that should protect and defend a rights-respecting country. Think about the draft, Jeanette. The draft is, if you think you have a basic right to your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, the draft is an obvious usurpation of that fundamental right. What greater violation is there to your right to life than somebody saying, I'm now going to take you against your will, force you into a barracks, and then across the ocean somewhere to a foreign land for which you have no connection at all, and which is likely not really a threat to the United States of America, and I'm going to make you potentially die there. I'm sorry. That's about as bad as it gets. It's about as un-American as it gets. America didn't have to engage the draft in World War II. When we were attacked, there was plenty of volunteers that filled out that army. You didn't need the draft. You didn't need Roosevelt to mechanize the society towards war. That was unnecessary. And to me, it started a precedent that the rights of individual Americans are violable if the circumstances warrant it. So I don't know. I say Muhammad Ali was a great American.
Yeah, I do too. My emotional pull is in Jim Valiant's direction, that the vets should be honored above all else. I'm talking about in terms of taking pride in being Americans. But even then, I don't know, and I don't even with the immigrants, if the pride would be in I'm proud to be an American, or I think the pride would be in I chose to be an American and I'm proud of that. Or I fought for freedom and be proud of that. Not being proud of just being an American, but pride in the steps that one has taken to become an American and to defend America.
I'll tell you this, Michael, real quick. My stepfather, who is generally a horrible person, was a World War II veteran. He was a Marine. He volunteered at 18 years of age to go into the Marine Corps, and he fought at Guadalcanal and Midway, two of the hugest battles in the Pacific. In Guadalcanal, they were outnumbered and completely cut off. They were outnumbered 10-1 by the Japanese and cut off from any relief for 14 days. No food, no water, no relief, no nothing. And they fought their way out. When I would go to football games with my family and they played the national anthem, my stepfather would stand and I would see tears going down his eyes. Why? Because he fought for America. He fought for America. When I hear the national anthem, Michael, and I see the American flag, I also tear up, but it's not from jingoistic patriotism. It's out of gratitude for the founding principles of this country, which are still alive. They're still alive despite 150 years of attempts by the political class and, frankly, the American people to kill them. They're still here. And as long as they are still here, there is hope for the future.
Yes, sir. So what did you think, speaking of fighting for liberty, what did you think of the Tom Paine stuff I sent you?
I'm going to repost that. I'm going to repost it. It was the last article I read. I'm going to repost it. It was amazing. Thomas Paine was an amazing individual. If anybody here has not read any of his stuff, you really should. Let's get into the article, Michael, if you want to start doing that one.
Get into it, but you got to read a little bit of what the guy said. Should I go get the quote? Because I don't think that article has the whole quote.
Yeah. But the Sunshine Patriot.
Yes. Hold on.
Yes. That is a fantastic quote. And folks, that was written in a pamphlet that was just at the moment that I would say the Revolutionary War was at its nadir. The British had pushed the Washington's army out of New York. He was retreating across New Jersey. He was in trouble. It looked like they were going to be cut off and they were going to be absolutely annihilated. And the cause of the rebels was going to fail. And I'm sure Washington felt that as well. And here's what he said, which in my opinion, Michael, saved the United States of America, made the United States of America possible.
I need Mr. Deagle to please translate Natalia's writing because I can't read it. I don't even know what it is, but I'd like to know what she's saying so we could respond. So December 23rd, 1776. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us, that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives everything its value. Heaven knows... Where'd it go now? Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. Britain, with an army to enforce her tyranny, has declared that she has a right not only to tax, but to bind us in all cases whatsoever. And if being bound in that manner is not slavery, then is there not such a thing as slavery upon earth? Even the expression is impious, for so unlimited a power can belong only to God. Now, here's the thing. He's talking about the Sunshine Soldier and Summer Patriot, basically fair weather friends, right? Or fair weather fighters for liberty, people who stand for it when it's easy, when there's no pushback, when it's the popular thing to do. But in our culture right now, in our country, you say things like, people should be free, for instance, to discriminate. There should be no such thing as hate speech, right? The people that should be deciding about what bathrooms people use ought not be the government. It ought to be the private business owners. We need to get rid of the welfare state, abolish Social Security, get rid of the minimum wage. These things are not popular. And not only are you going to get pushback from all of the people out there who support those things, but amongst the people that fight for liberty, there's an abundance of arguments that you're going to face as well, regardless of what you say. You know, if you support the Constitution, the anarchists will come out and say, oh, what do you mean you support the Constitution? If you maybe support drug legalization, you're going to get some pushback somewhere. So it's not an easy thing to fight for liberty, but I do think it is a necessity.
Absolutely. And Michael, when you were reading those words, I mean, I was stirred almost to tears. And I wished for another Thomas Paine who could articulate in such beautiful, poetic language the essence of the struggle and so fill my heart with passion that I stand up in the face of crisis and say, I'll fight you. I mean, there's a reason, Michael, that pamphlet was distributed to about 25% of the population. I mean, that was a ginormous bestseller at the time. And when you read those opening words, it is a shot across the bow that is undeniably inspirational. Michael, you have to be dead not to be inspired by those words.
And by the way, this guy had balls and not just words. I mean, this is, he risked death there. He went over to the French Revolution and was stirring shit up over there, ended up in prison.
And just avoided the guillotine, Michael. And I think it was by accident. I could be, I don't know if I'm mixing up stories here, but from what I understand, they would put a chalk X on the door of the person they were going to execute. And it so happened that his door was open on the day that the guards passed through to see who was to be executed. So they did not see the chalk X on his door. And the execution.
I don't know if that's true, but it's interesting. But I know he definitely was facing execution. I also know that he's a very inspiring figure. There's something about people who can combine truth with eloquence, honesty with inspiration, you know what I mean? Reason with emotion. And we've talked about this before. That, I think, is what the liberty movement, or one of the things it's lacking.
It's got the intellectual part of things cornered. And for those objectivists who are in the movement and objectivist adjacent folks who I think understand Ayn Rand's principles properly, they've got the moral aspects of it cornered. They just don't have the charisma. They're not that dynamic in a sense. And Paine was freaking dynamic. Now, I don't know how he spoke in the assembly. I don't know how he did if he gave an oral presentation in the National Assembly in France. But his words are simply undeniably stirring, and we need somebody like that. With that poetic understanding.
Yeah, and I mean, we could now pivot maybe to another guy who is pretty moving with his words.
Yeah. Now, Michael, do you know if those words that Patrick Henry spoke were extemporaneous, or did he write this speech out? I don't recall.
I don't believe they were written, because we don't have his written copy. I mean, there's no indication of it. What we have is, they constructed what he said based on eyewitness accounts. And I mean, before we say anything about him, let me just see here. I'm hoping that. Did I not send you the Patrick Henry stuff?
You didn't, but that's okay.
Oh, man.
That's all right.
Boy, did I drop did I drop the ball on that one? Okay. I just want to read the whole speech. Can I do it?
Please. Take us back. Take us back, man.
No man thinks more highly than I do of the patriotism as well as abilities of the very worthy gentlemen who have just addressed the House. But different men often see the same subject in different lights, and therefore I hope it will not be thought disrespectful to those gentlemen if, entertaining as I do opinions of a character very opposite to theirs, I shall speak forth my sentiments freely and without reserve. This is no time for ceremony. The question before the House is one of awful moment to this country. For my own part, I consider it as nothing less than a question of freedom or slavery, and in proportion to the magnitude of the subject ought to be the freedom of the debate. It is only in this way that we can hope to arrive at truth and fulfill the great responsibility which we hold to God and our country. Should I keep back my opinions at such a time, through fear of giving offense, I should consider myself as guilty of treason towards my country and an act of disloyalty toward the majesty of heaven, which I revere above all earthly kings. Mr. President, it is natural to man to indulge in the illusions of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against the painful truth and listen to the song of that siren till she transforms us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in a great and arduous struggle for liberty? Are we disposed to be of the number of those who, having eyes, see not, and having ears, hear not, the things which so nearly concern their temporal salvation? For my part, whatever anguish of my spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and to provide for it. I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I know of no way of judging of the future but by the past. In judging by the past, I wish to know what there has been in the conduct of the British ministry for the last 10 years to justify those hopes with which gentlemen have been pleased to solace themselves and the House. Is it that insidious smile with which our petition has been lately received? Trust it not, sir. It will prove a snare to your feet. Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss. Ask yourselves how this gracious reception of our petition comports with those warlike preparations which cover our waters and darken our land. Are fleets and armies necessary to a work of love and reconciliation? Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must be called in to win back our love? Let us not deceive ourselves, sir. These are the implements of war and subjugation, the last arguments to which kings resort. I ask, gentlemen, sir, what means this martial array, if its purpose be not to force us to submission? Can gentlemen assign any other possible motive for it? Has Great Britain any enemy in this quarter of the world to call for all this accumulation of navies and armies? No, sir, she has none. They are meant for us. They can be meant for no other. They are sent over to bind and rivet upon us those chains which the British ministry have been so long forging. And what have we to oppose to them? Shall we try argument? Sir, we have been trying that for the last 10 years. Have we anything new to offer upon the subject? Nothing. We have held the subject up in every light of which it is capable, but it has been all in vain. Shall we resort to entreaty and humble supplication? What terms shall we find which have not been already exhausted? Let us not, I beseech you, sir, deceive ourselves. Sir, we have done everything that could be done to avert the storm which is now coming on. We have petitioned, we have remonstrated, we have supplicated, we have prostrated ourselves before the throne and have implored its interposition to arrest the tyrannical hands of the ministry and parliament. Our petitions have been slighted, our remonstrances have produced additional violence and insult, our supplications have been disregarded, and we may have been spurned with contempt from the foot of the throne. In vain, after these things, may we indulge the fond hope of peace and reconciliation. There is no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, if we mean to preserve inviolate those inestimable privileges for which we have been so long contending, if we mean not basely to abandon the noble struggle in which we have been so long engaged, in which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, we must fight. I repeat, sir, we must fight. An appeal to arms and to the God of hosts is all that is left us. They tell us, sir, that we are weak, unable to cope with so formidable an adversary. But when shall we be stronger? Will it be the next week or the next year? Will it be when we are totally disarmed and when a British guard shall be stationed in every house? Shall we gather strength by irresolution and inaction? Shall we acquire the means of effectual resistance by lying supinely on our backs and hugging the delusive phantom of hope until our enemies shall have bound us hand and foot? Sir, we are not weak if we make a proper use of those means which the God of nature has placed in our power. The millions of people armed in the holy cause of liberty, and in such a country as that which we possess, are invincible by any force which our enemy can send against us. Besides, sir, we shall not fight our battles alone. There is a just God who presides over the destinies of nations, and who will raise up friends to fight our battles for us. The battle, sir, is not to the strong alone. It is to the vigilant, the active, the brave. Besides, sir, we have no election. If we were base enough to desire it, it is now too late to retire from the contest. There is no retreat but in submission and slavery. Our chains are forged. Their clanking may be heard on the plains of Boston. The war is inevitable, and let it come. I repeat, sir, let it come. It is in vain, sir, to extenuate the matter. Gentlemen may cry, peace, peace, but there is no peace. The war is actually begun. The next gale that sweeps from the north will bring to our ears the clash of resounding arms. Our brethren are already in the field. Why stand we here idle? What is it that gentlemen wish? What would they have? Is life so dear, or peace so sweet, as to be purchased at the price of chains and slavery? Forbid it, Almighty God. I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death. Wow.
Damn.
Savage.
Dude.
Fucking savage.
I am fucking crying. I'm crying.
Nicole Hingle, we actually did an episode about Mercy Otis Warren. So yes, we've heard of her. We've heard of her brother, James Otis. We did an episode about him as well. That is the spirit. This guy, he gave that speech in Virginia at a church. It was after Lexington and Concord, but before the Declaration of Independence. Absolute savage. There's a story, and I don't know if it's apocryphal, but this guy was such a good speaker. There was a time when he was against Patrick Henry and James Madison on an issue. They opposed each other on numerous issues, so I don't know which one it was. But when they knew Patrick Henry was opposing him and was going to speak against them, Jefferson said, "We must devoutly pray for his death."
Oh, yeah. Well, James Madison was not what you would consider a very good public speaker. I mean, half the time when he spoke in Congress, you couldn't hear him. This is one of the greatest thinkers of the founding age, folks. But, at what, 5'3" or whatever he was, a little bit sickly. He usually spoke just above a whisper. And so it would be a little troubling and daunting to be up against a guy like that who could, Michael, speak extemporaneously like that. I mean, in poetic fashion.
He's also the guy, he was given a speech against the Stamp Act in 1765, and people in the crowd yelled, "Treason, treason." And he responded, "If this be treason, make the most of it."
I mean, perfect comeback. Yeah, it's a fantastic character, Michael. And again, it just makes me a little pained that we don't have people in Congress or in government who would pack the house to hear them. They're such great orators, like they used to with Daniel Webster. I don't know if Daniel Webster was the last great orator in American history, but he was certainly one that civilians would come from miles around just to hear him talk on something. And they did the same.
I think Frederick Douglass came after Daniel Webster. Did he?
Yeah, Frederick Douglass did. But I mean, I wouldn't consider him a traditional politician, like, elected politician.
No, but he was an orator. Oh, you're talking about politician orator.
Politician, like somebody who could stand up in the House and just deliver a speech extemporaneously that would blow your mind. Frederick Douglass, by the way, Michael, we should do a show on him because I consider him to be a second generation founder in my view, because this guy stood up in the midst of a society steeped in deep, deep racism and held the American conscience feet to the fire. He literally preached the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, Michael, as great documents that we needed to live up to at a time when doing that as a black man was dangerous, was very dangerous. a formidable man who also, Michael, you know that he went to his slave master's deathbed when the man was dying. Did you know this? And forgave him.
It sounds familiar to me.
He forgave him.
Jerry's ass says that JFK he'd put in there. I would not put JFK or Barack Obama.
Michael, I have to say, JFK wasn't his words. Not even Profiles in Courage were his words. They're Arthur Schlesinger's words. So if you wanted somebody to speak, Patrick Henry was speaking extemporaneously. When Alexander Hamilton spoke, he spoke extemporaneously. Madison wrote his own speeches. So Jefferson wrote his own speeches. Go ahead.
Patrick Henry was a delegate to both the First Continental Congress, the Second Continental Congress. Interestingly, he refused to attend the Constitutional Convention. Afterwards, he was asked why. He said because he smelt a rat. He thought it was consolidating too much power in the federal government, violating the Articles of Confederation. He was right about subverting the Articles of Confederation. But after the Bill of Rights was attached and after it was ratified, there were people that wanted to still revolt. And he said, no, gentlemen, let us go home. This is our republic. He also was one of the first to not want to be seen as a Virginian, but as an American. And so, he played a role in the Bill of Rights getting put in there. Later on, he actually turned Federalist, or at least allied with the Federalists, depending on who you listen to. And he opposed Jefferson and Madison on the Virginia and Kentucky resolutions. Great guy in history, was utterly aware of the hypocrisy of owning slaves and touting liberty. Didn't stop being a slaveholder, and that's to his discredit, of course.
Yeah, but it ruined him, Michael. I mean, he felt guilt until the end of his days with that. It really ruined him spiritually, as it would.
So interestingly, Mark, and I'm glad I didn't put it in the title because I really would have screwed the pooch there. We're going to have to discuss it tomorrow. I really wanted to delve into the First and Second Continental Congresses. That was part of the reading this morning. I don't know what the hell I was thinking that I didn't send it to you.
I had a dearth of material. I was like, this is it? This is all we're doing today? Because normally I have like a flood of articles.
Yeah, well, so I forgot to send you 6 articles that I forgot to send. But we can still get into it. We still have to discuss, in my view, you tell me what you think. I think we definitely have to cover. Now, we don't necessarily need to go over Madison because this is the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, but we certainly need to discuss Jefferson, Adams, Franklin, and Washington.
Yep.
Right. So we have to discuss those 4 and the First and Second Continental Congresses. What else do you think we got to discuss before the 4th?
I think that's good. I think that's actually good. We go over the Declaration of Independence. I think we should go over that. So this is what I want to do. I want to do tomorrow the First and Second Continental Congresses, and maybe John Adams. Maybe do Adams and Jefferson with the Continental Congresses. We'll make that a little bit longer. I do want to do some stuff on Ben Franklin. Definitely got to cover the Declaration of Independence. I wanted to do George Washington last. Do you know why? Tell me.
Well, because without Washington, the Declaration of Independence goes nowhere.
This is true. I agree with you. Thank you, Nicole Hingle, for that $5. Is that a super chat, Michael? That's a super chat. You're both outstanding.
You don't know the difference yet?
You both communicate.
Is that
clarity and conviction? Thank you very much, Nicole.
Wait a second. Hold on.
I'm going to derail this ball busting that's about to happen, and maybe I should
communicate with clarity and conviction. Did you just hear the?
That's right, man. Look, we got a few minutes, Michael. Should we get into the Iran stuff? I mean, I hesitate only because
Sure.
after all that
I'm
inspiring stuff from our origins, it's such a drop down uh, to deal with what's happening today with the Trump administration. It's almost it's hard to look at.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't you give the news on Iran? What we've got, you know.
Oh, so you want to put
happened.
it on me after all that?
Yeah. And then I will. Oh, we got $5 more.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the history lesson. Saw Mark in episode 2 of Burn Notice yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Larry Green. I didn't know you were in Burn. You've told me that, but I don't remember you from it. I might have to watch the show again. You were some smarmy guy, right?
I don't remember.
All right. Well, we'll go check that out. But I'm going to tell you how we're going to handle this. You're going to give us the Iran news, and then I'm going to do the impossible. Or no, it's possible. I'm going to give the what appears to be impossible. I'm going to put positive spin on it. You go ahead. Go ahead. You're the great orator. Give us the.
I'm trying to think how exactly you would put the positive spin.
You don't have to worry about that. I'm going to do it.
I know a positive spin. So if you don't do an adequate positive spin, then I'm going to follow up. Thank you, Jerry, for that super sticker, $5. It says super sticker. That's the difference. And it's a different color.
Well, no, that colors are based on the amount of money, I think. But look,
no,
you don't have to try to steal my thunder.
Isn't the color different for Wordsmith up there than it is for Jerry? Different colors, same total.
Yeah, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they differ because of both color and.
You don't know what you're talking about. All right, so
amount and whether super chat, super sticker, two. Look at this from Natalia, and thank you so much for the €2. And nobody ever translated what she was saying to us.
Hey, you know what? I'm just happy that we have a capitalist over there planted in Putin's Russia doing our work for us over there. And hopefully it undermines the fuck out of that guy's administration. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be saying the F word, but I just did. Michael, yeah, so here's the deal. Of course, everybody knows that we signed a ceasefire we didn't sign. We agreed to a ceasefire with Iran, which has been violated 5 or 6 times since the ceasefire. The most recent violation was a drone sent against a tanker that was trying to cross to the Oman side of the Straits of Hormuz. Of course, the Trump administration retaliated by airstrikes against radar sites, drone construction sites, and various other military sites. It's more or less continuing degrading the IRGC's capacity to wage war against the United States and to disrupt traffic in the Straits of Hormuz. And of course, the president has been threatening, as he has always threatened for the past few months, that the repercussions are going to be very severe if they continue to disrupt the Straits, while the Iranians continue to claim that they now have control of the Straits. They are going to assert claims to control of the Straits and make that contingent upon any peace agreement. Meanwhile, the same nonsense is going on in Lebanon. Israel's reaching agreements with the Lebanese army, attempting to get them to take over responsibilities that the IDF has been standing in for, and to hold Hezbollah back in the south. And they've come up with some convoluted agreement to do that. It hasn't worked in the past. I don't know that it'll work presently, Michael. So right now we're in that uneasy state of a ceasefire that is violated constantly. So it's not really a ceasefire. And Iran trying to mobilize the rest of the community around it in order to demonstrate its superiority in the Straits of Hormuz. So there's a thought out there that they're attacking Bahrain, they're attacking the UAE in an attempt to make them hesitant to challenge their claims to the Straits of Hormuz. So all this nonsense is going on in the Middle East with the Trump administration more or less threatening and yet not really doing anything about it. Now, I want to hear your positive spin, and if it's not good enough, I'm going to give another positive spin. Go.
The positive spin, Rahazam is a new member of the channel. Thank you, Rahazam.
Thank you, Rahazam.
Awesome. The positive spin lies in this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. We are still we, the people. That means we can still do something about it. We can do something about unconstitutional wars. We can do something about socialists being elected. We can do something about Donald Trump buying shares in private companies and threatening others. We can do something. It's not automatic, and just because we want something doesn't mean it happens overnight, and it didn't happen for the founders either. But what we can do is use our intellects and our own oration abilities to bring people over to our side, to convince people that there is a better way, a more inspiring way, to show that capitalism, freedom, individual rights are not just buzzwords, but they are the way forward. They are the path to a better future. So I think that is the positive spin to put on this, is that we do not have to accept it lying down. All right.
Amen. Amen. I'm not even going to say what I was going to say because it's not even close to that. That's great. I love that. That's inspiring. Yes, folks, don't take it lying down. Don't take it lying down. Take a page out of Patrick Henry. Take a page out of Michael Liebowitz and Thomas Paine, and fight for your liberties. They were hard won, but the principles are still there. So it's not like you have to start from scratch like our founders did. They're there. They provided a foundation for us that all we have to do is just take back. That's all we got to do.
Oh. So now I forgot what the hell I was going to say. Are you going to do a capitalist thought of the day, though?
I could. I thought I was going to do the question today. Didn't I do the capitalist thought last time?
Dude, you're here like once a month. You can do it twice. It's okay.
And tomorrow I have to take him to the vet in the morning, so I probably won't make the show tomorrow.
Oh, FFS.
Yeah, he's not doing well, so I got to make sure he's okay.
All right. So the question the other day was, what would they like to see us talk about? And Greg Doherty would like us to do a show on, was America of 1776 a religious nation? Was America's founding grounded in religion? And Nicole Hingle would like us to talk Mercy Otis Warren. But we've already done that. Do you want me to do the capitalist thought of the day and then you do you ask the question?
Yeah, sure.
My capitalist thought of the day is, in a world of Donald Trumps, be a Patrick Henry. Be the guy who stands on principle, who speaks up even when there's risk of harm. Do not be the sunshine patriot or the summer soldier of Thomas Paine's American Crisis. Be the man, be the woman that is out there on the front lines advocating for that in which you believe. Now, Mark, you can ask the question.
That's very good. So when I was in Europe, people asked me if I was proud to be an American, because so many people are leaving America, at least some folks in my industry, and living in Europe to get away from Trump. And I said, Trump doesn't define America. And even the Republican movement doesn't define America. What defines America are its founding principles. And do I love those still? Of course I do. And since they're still there, we can always fight for them. So I want to ask you guys the very same question that was asked in the Gallup poll. Are you proud to be an American today? For me, Trump doesn't represent America. And so America still stands in my heart, where it has stood ever since I knew what to think about it. And I hope the same with you, but I want to get your opinions, yes or no. And if you can, answer why. And do that on YouTube, folks. And Michael, do you have a show later on today? No show today? No show later?
No, but thanks for embarrassing me. I appreciate that.
Oh, did you already announce that though at the beginning, that the show's not happening anymore after this?
They already know that the show's not happening.
Okay, good. All right, folks. So you got 23 hours to check your premises, I guess. We will see you tomorrow. By
we, he means me.
Probably him. I'm going to try to get back in time, but I have to take Cody to the vet. He's well, it's time for a checkup, but he also has some issues, and I hope he's okay. So, say a little prayer up there for Cody. I hope he's okay. Anyway, guys, check your premises, please, because it's what really smart, active-minded people do. Peace.